Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about inverse function. Let me write that down real fast. There might be a lot of people asking what is inverse function. To me personally, I think that inverse function, it is just a reverse function. Okay, it is the reverse of my original function. In order to talk more about it, let us have this example right here. Let's look at this function right here. Let's say this is, we used this example earlier on. This is my spending in Ringgit Malaysia. And then what I have here, it's my time right here. Right? This is my time. This is my time in day. Right? Time equal to day number 1, I spend 0 ringgit. Time equal to day 1, I spend 3 ringgit. Time equal to day 2, I spend 6 ringgit. Time equal to day 3, I spend 9 ringgit. This is our function right here. I can say my function is 3x. When I put in my x is equal to 1, I'm gonna get 3. Let me just label the number of days here. When my day is equal to 2, I'm gonna get 6 ringgit. You can see with each day, my spending increases. This is my spending function right there. So here's the question for us to get accustomed with the inverse function. If I were to spend RM60 ringgit, right? If I were to spend 60 ringgit, can you tell me which day will it be? Which day will it be? With the example all set up here, let me ask you guys a question. If I were to spend 60 ringgit, can you tell me which day will it be? Of course, some of you might say, oh, this is easy, just divide 60 by 3. What if the function is a more complex function? It will not be as straightforward by just divide by 3. So, in order to find which day, we can use inverse function. Up to this point, I have my x, find my y. In inverse function, I'm gonna take my y to find my x. This is the idea behind inverse function. You want to take your y value to find your x value. Right? This is my normal function. This is my inverse function. There is 4 steps you need to know in order to find your inverse function. Okay, let me quickly go through. So step number 1, let me write this thing here. Find inverse function. Right, there's a total of 4 steps. Step 1, I'm just gonna say you need to let my y equal to whatever function we have there. In our case, we have 3x. Let me just do my first step here. This is easy. Y equal to 3x. Step number 2, you need to interchange x and y. So what will this be? I'm gonna get x equal to 3y. Step number 3, you want to find your y. So what happened here? My y, with a little bit of algebra, I can find my y right there. Right, so my y, it is just equal to x over 3. Last but not least, okay, I'm gonna let my y to be f inverse. Right, there we go. Over 3. Let's come back to our question. Which day will it be? The day that I spend 60 ringgit. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna use my inverse function. I'm just gonna put in 60, and then I'm gonna get 60 divided by 3. Basically, I'm just substituting 60 into my inverse function right here. Okay, so you can see when I divide by 3, I'm gonna get 20. When I substitute in my 60 ringgit into my inverse function, I'm gonna get 20. That means I will spend 60 ringgit on the 20th day. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of idea on inverse function. Inverse function can also be represented in a mapping diagram. So in our case here, we have, let me scroll out a bit, 1, 2, 3, 3, 6, 9. Okay, this can be represented in a mapping diagram. 1, 2, 3, and then I have my 3, 6, 9. Of course, with our additional data, I have my 20th day, then I'm gonna spend 60 ringgit right there. Remember guys, on the left side, normally it is my object, it is my domain, input, and my x value. On the right side, it is always my image, range, and my output. Okay, these are the ones that we are familiar with my y value. Alright, this is my mapping diagram right here. They'll have this little arrow pointing that represent at day 1, I spent 3 ringgit, day 2, I spent 6 ringgit, on the 20th day, I'm gonna spend 60 ringgit. This is denoted by my function f of x. When dealing with inverse function, we are basically doing the reverse right here. So instead of writing like this, I can write this way. Let me just rub that off, equal to 1. Oh, you can see here, if I were to utilize my inverse function by putting in the y value, I'm gonna get the x value right here. Okay, hopefully you guys learn something today. Okay, that's all for me today. I will see you next time. Bye bye.